Inside SharePoint, I created a list called My Toys, and I added 3 items to it, Toy 1, Toy 2, and Toy 3. It just has a field called Title. In the same SharePoint site, I have another list called Categories, that it has multiple categories, including sports, electronics, whatever. If I go to My Toys, I want to add another column here called Category, and the category for each toy should be looked up from categories. So I just quickly do that, and I go to lookup, and I call it category, and type is lookup, and I want to pick up the values from category. Title is good enough. I don't want to get into more options, although you may want to look into it later on. It's important. At the moment, I just ignore it. I click on save, and category is added. Now for every single one of them, I can click on edit and I can add a category. For example, for this one, I add electronics. For the second toy that I have, I add, for example, sports. And for toy 3, I edit it again and I add some furniture, for example, and I click on save. All of a sudden, my roommate gets upset and say, you know what, no more furniture. We have lots of furniture here. We are not buying any more furniture. So from now on, if I want to add any new item here, for example, Toy 4, for the category, I should not be able to pick furniture. In this video, I want to show you how you can remove the items from this drop-down that is referring to a lookup list. If this is what you're looking for, stay with me to the end. Hello. In today's video, we want to talk about this very old problem. Trust me, the challenge with the lookup field is nothing new. It has been there since we had SharePoint. But today, in this video, I want to show you how we can tackle this problem, this very old problem, with the new and modern technology. Yes, you guessed it right. I'm using PowerApps to solve this problem. If you want to delete a record from the lookup list, the items that are displayed in the dropdown will disappear, but it will come at a cost, which is damaging your record in the actual list that gets values from the lookup. And I will show you in a minute. But before we go there, let me tell you 2 things. First is that I was a little bit struggling finding the right title or the best title for this video. I really appreciate if you can help and suggest titles for this video. Second is that since it was a struggle to find the right title, and in the search that I did on YouTube on everything that I could put together to make this content more searchable, well, I was not that lucky, so this is what I suggest. Probably if you think this is something useful that you may want to use it later on, make sure you like this video, simply because searching your liked videos is a lot easier than searching the entire YouTube. Now, without wasting time, let's get into the video because I have a lot to share in this one. So the whole idea in this exercise is we are trying to hide furniture or remove furniture from this drop-down or this combo box, better say. First of all, let's see what happens if I just go directly to categories and delete this furniture. To do that, I don't want to mess up with existing record. Let me just go to categories and I add my own new category and I call it test category and I just save it. Now I go to my toys and I add a new toy and I call it test toy. And the category, I pick the test category and I save it. Now see what happens. If I go to categories and I say, yeah, I don't want to use test categories anymore, and I just delete this guy, delete, and it's gone. Now if I go to my toys, everything looks good, but it's not, it's just a cache. Let me just refresh this page and see what happens. There we go. The test toy lost its category. Depending on the configuration, there is also a possibility that you completely lose the record rather than just a value in the category, which makes it a little bit worse. So deleting somewhere from categories is not an option. What is the other way that we can do that? Well, as I mentioned before, we are looking into PowerApps. So let's go to My Toys Before doing that, I want to right click on this and I want to open the site in a new tab. Okay, so later on we need this URL, and if I just click on this guy and I go to integrate and I go to PowerApps, customize forms, I lose this screen because it opens the entire thing in PowerApps. That's why I created a new tab and I have it here. We need it later on. Now, while it's loading, you can go and grab a coffee. I do a fast forward and we'll be back when it's loaded. We're good, it's loaded. So all we need to do, let me just increase the size a little bit. This category that we have, if I pick this dropdown, you see it picks the item from the mytoys.category, which is the field, and it says, okay, all the choices that it has, show them here. Great. So somehow we need to be able to filter these guys. But how should I filter that? There is no filter criteria. Well, we can add it ourselves. So I click on categories and I want to add another column here. Let's say yes, no, yeah, logical sounds right. And for the name, I say height, for example. It's a yes, no. The default value is no. And I click on save. Okay. So now I can say if I want to hide something, because delete is not an option, I can click on the furniture and I say edit all and hide it. I click on save and we are good. All right. So now if I go back to this dropdown and say show only the item that the height field is false, we are done. But it's not really as simple as we think. Let me show you why. First, I open PowerApps and I want to create a new app just to show you how things are. This app that I'm creating now is not part of the solution. It's just for understanding. So I create a blank app, canvas app, create, and I call it lookup research. And I click on create. For this one, I want to create a link to this My Toys just to do my research and see what is going on inside these choices. I can come here and I say add a connection, and I want to add a connection to SharePoint. I click on this guy, I pick one ID, it doesn't matter which one, and now I can simply get this URL of the SharePoint site and I stick it here. Of course, I can eyeball and try to find it. Yes, it's here, but I'm usually too lazy depending on how many items you have here. I click on connect and it shows me the My Toys. And I also want to use categories because later on I want to filter from here. Let me show you what's going on here. So first, let's look into this guy, which is choices of mytoys.category. All right, I come back here. I can say add a data table. There we go. And for this one, I don't want to pick My Toys or categories. For the items, I just get the whole thing here. You cannot copy or select it because this whole control is locked. So to do that, I can click on advanced and I unlock it. Then it lets me play with it a little bit more. So now I can select, copy, and I bring it back to my PowerApps. Because there is a connection to My Toys, this formula should work. So I select this data table that I just added, and I just stick that formula here. It doesn't show anything because it's not connected to any table or list directly. But if I click on edit fields and I say add fields, you see there are two fields. One is the ID, the other one is value. Where is our height field? Tough luck, guys, it's not there. So there is no way we can just use this one and filter it. All right, so what shall we do then? Well, let me just make it a little bit smaller again, so we have some more space to add another table. But if I get the values from the categories directly, which I already created a connection to categories here, there we can filter it. All right. So if this is the case, let me add another data table. There we go. And I pick categories. This time, this guy is a little bit happier, simply because it is connected to a SharePoint list and it says, hey, this SharePoint list has title and a field called height. Well, yeah, and it has a lot more. If I click on edit fields and I say add fields, you will see there are tons of fields that are actually coming with this list called categories. But I really don't need them. I just need ID value, and I also need the field called height. So ID is not here. Let me just add ID here. There we go. And I click on save. So I have title, height, and ID. Now, from this guy, I can filter this to exclude everything that the height field is checked. How? Simple. Let's say filter categories where height, and I just close it. And because height is a logical field, I really don't need to say anything. It's either true or false. And in this case, it's true, so it shows me only the item that the height is checked, which is exactly the opposite of what we want. So we turn it into opposite. So I say not height. Now it's going to change and it's going to show me only the items that I want to display. But here is the thing. I don't need title, I need value. I don't need height in the result. And for the ID should look like this. Otherwise, it does not fit in here. All right, so let's get back here and try to trim it and make it look like this. So I come back here. After the filter is done, I really don't need all these fields. I only need title and ID. There is a magical function in PowerApps called show columns. Right? Show columns says, give me any table which filter returns and tell me which columns you want it to return. I say only show me the title and the ID. Right? Now it shows me something, but it's not very happy. The reason is that now title is title, height is not there, and the ID looks custom. Let's just remove this guy and remove this guy. And now I just add the fields that I have, and you can see only ID is there. So basically at the moment, this query or this formula only returns title and ID, correct? And it's already filtered because inside this guy, we have a filter that we filter it for the ones that they are not hidden. What else is left? Nothing. I just need to convert this ID to this one, and I need to convert the title to value. How can I do that? Well, there is another magical function in PowerApps called rename columns. The rename columns actually gets the columns from one table and says, okay, what column do you want me to rename and what do you want to rename it to? So first, we provide the source, which is the show column. All this formula is the source for the rename column. And then I say, okay, please convert title to value. See, we are showing the title under value here. And I say also convert ID to ID, because D is not capital anymore. And I just close it. Formula is correct, but this guy is not happy. The reason is that now the field names don't match with whatever that this table already knows. Well, we can change it. We go to edit fields. I don't need this anymore. I don't need this anymore. Gosh. And now if I click on add fields, I have ID and value. How cool is that? We got exactly this one, but now it is filtered here. All right. So, Ali, are you telling me if I just copy and paste this guy in this app, instead of items here, the problem is going to be solved? Well, yes, but the only thing is that this app does not have a connection to categories. Here, we added another connection to the lookup table, while this guy doesn't have it. Easy to add, right? So I can come here and I say, add data from SharePoint, right? And then I can pick up the same site. I need a connection to categories, and I click on connect. So I have connections to my toys and categories. Now, if I pick this guy for the items, I can get this formula, the whole thing, and I can stick it here. I can click on save, and I run this to test. I open it, and you see the furniture still appears here, although it is not supposed to. This is the cache, it doesn't refresh it, which is all right. What I typically do, I pick this guy, maybe let's replace this not with the equivalent syntax, something like this, and I just save it again. Let's see. Still the furniture is there. Now, if you really click on the rename columns, which is this formula, it shows you the right values, like ID and values. But if you run it, still, it shows you the furniture, which means it is a cache issue. Don't worry about it. Just save it. Let me just go to File and publish it to SharePoint. Let me come back here and see if this time it shows you this guy. Still, it shows furniture. Well, that's fine. Let's go back here and let me go to My Toys, refresh, maybe another refresh, and I click on New. Now this guy is not still updated. Just refresh this guy again. Yeah, now it is loading properly apparently. I click on this guy, it still shows furniture. That's okay. Now, because we know that this formula is correct, see if I click on this guy, you see that it returns everything as it's supposed to, but this guy doesn't show it properly. If it is cache, if it is anything else, not a problem. I just take a copy of the entire formula. I go to the app and I pick the onStart and I put everything in a variable. Set var, for example, categories. All right, comma, and I put the entire thing in this variable. See, the formula looks like this, okay? So this is set variable, and this is my entire formula that I put it in that variable. Now I can pick that variable, Control C, just make sure you click on this and run onStart once here. And then if I go to the categories, instead of this formula, I can put that variable, okay? And because it has the ID value as expected, if I run it this time, it's going to work properly. There is a good chance that by the time that we play this game, even if I just come back here and paste the entire formula here. Okay, let me get the formula. I go back here, app, right? This formula, just copy it and bring it back here. And instead of var categories, let me again paste the formula itself, which is showing me the correct values. Again, if I click on this guy, this time it works. So literally we copied and pasted the same formula and it still works. This is something that Microsoft may want to take a look into that, but here is your workaround. Now let's click on File, Save, and then publish it to SharePoint. And see if it works as expected. Let's go back to SharePoint. Let me just refresh this screen a few times. And then I click on New. Now if I click on the category, still this is the old version, so let me just refresh it again. I click on this guy. Hopefully this time it opens it properly. All right. And I click on category, and you can see the furniture is not here anymore. If I go to categories again, and if I want to hide, for example, other, right? And say hide this one too, I click on save. And if I go to my toys now, and I click on new, you see the other does not exist anymore. Hey, we are done. So we can preserve our furniture and we can order some new toys while the category furniture is not available to add to the new items. And that was it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know in the comments section, or at least push the like button. It means a lot to me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next video.